Andrew McGahan here for Severe MMA.
The pride of Limerick, the young man named Sean Sheehan.
The Severe MMA people that come into the local shows way before everyone else. To see them coming up and they're getting their shot, and I'm proud that people are coming up with me.
Episode 62 of the Severe MMA podcast is finally here.
Boom!
Andrew McGahan joined, as always, by today's co-host. He's a fill-in for Sean Sheehan. He just repeats action noises repeatedly. You heard a boom, you're going to hear a thud.
Thud.
Brilliant. It's as if I'm talking to Sean Sheehan here. It's not. He's not even here.
Pow!
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. As always, joined by Limerick's favourite, Sean Sheehan. Sean, how's the form? Hey.
Not so bad. The only bad thing is...
Something happened, I know you're upset. I know you're hurt. Yeah. Tell us.
I had to close my windows the first thing anyway. It's boiling here. Boiling.
I think we live in different countries, Sean, because it's not hot outside, like.
Actually says it's only 10 degrees here in mine, but it's definitely hotter than that there. I was out all morning, it was boiling, but there's dogs barking outside. I had to close my window. Oh yeah,
like a dog in heat.
Like a dog in heat. Like a dog in heat. Before we get to that though, I believe you have something you have to say, Andrew, have you?
I do. Well, Sean, you know, in the age of equality and everything like that, I found this was an appropriate time for me to tell the listeners of Severe MMA podcast that I'm a massive fan of ROS Sports Nutrition.
Ooh.
You thought I was going to come out there, didn't you?
Well,
I had you on the ropes.
Well, to everyone else, like.
ROS Sports Nutrition. Great lads.
Yes.
They sponsor the podcast here at Severe MMA. They are the official supplement providers for Leinster Hockey, Dublin GAA, and more importantly, Come On the Town, Dundalk FC. They're an Irish-based company. They're just like us, Sean. Small numbers, dedicated, very, very passionate about their product. Irish-based and Irish formulated. So that's a big thing there as well. They're independently tested as well as tested by themselves. So no tainted supplement business going on, Yoel Romero style. You can go over to their website, which is rosnutrition.com. They've got full breakdowns on all of their products. They've got their proteins, both plant-based and whey. They've got recovery drinks. They've got your omega oils. They've got absolutely everything that you could need there. All the breakdowns are on it, and they're also categorised by sport. So if you're a cyclist, if you're a long-distance runner, if you're a martial artist, a rugby player, a GAA player, or a competitive tiddlywinks player, there are breakdowns and products that are recommended for your sport of choosing as well on the website. Sean, that's not all.
No, what else, Andrew?
They've got brilliant recipes as well for all of the healthy stuff that you can make. Paleo this, paleo that. You can get gluten-free this, gluten-free that. More importantly, they've got an avocado milkshake, which I am going to try between this show and next week's show.
Nice. I was actually thinking about getting some stuff. I'm not fucking fitness guru or anything, but try some of that stuff out. I have a friend of mine actually is going to try it out for me and report back. So in a couple of weeks, I'll tell everyone what it's like.
If you're like Sean Sheehan's friend in the same boat, thinking about maybe putting an order in, helping the lads out at Severe, then you can do just that. Fill out your cart to your heart's content, and I mean Dale Winton style supermarket sweep. Sean, are you following me on that one?
I'm following you.
Because I watched that last week for the first time in quite a while as well.
I don't think I've ever seen it. But
oh my God. More on that later. ROSnutrition.com. Fill it up as high as you like. Put in the discount code at the end, SevereMMA, on your first order, and you will get 25% off your total order.
No way.
Yes, 25%? Way. 25%.
And off of everything?
Off everything.
That's mad, isn't it?
Yep. Also, if you check out their website, free shipping on all orders over €60.
Nice.
Order before 2 p.m. and get it shipped the same day. Great lads. ROS Sports, ROSnutrition.com.
Fair play.
Boom. Anyway.
Help us, help you. There you go. That's my
exactly.
Title.
Help. What?
Help us, help you. No,
well, help them, help us, and help yourself.
Yeah. Everyone help each other.
Everyone help each other, and we're going to be laughing. Beautiful.
Oh, yeah. So, right. My shitty day. This is my shitty day. This is how it started, right? When you become an adult, you have to... Oh, it's terrible, isn't it?
Why?
It's awful. Like,
I'm not an adult yet, so it doesn't really count.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah. But from non-MMA work, right? I had a check last week that didn't come, right? So I went down to the person who like deals with them. I said, my check didn't come. Can you get it sent again? And the lady was like, yeah, don't bother, we'll get it sent again. You'll get a double one next week from this place I was working at, right? And then this week comes, don't get a double check, just get the one check. I went down again this morning, and it's like, you said you sent me the double check there last week, and it never sent. Oh, sorry, I didn't put it into the machine. I'll have a double check for you next week.
Who's running this office? John Ferguson's secretary.
I just hate these things though, because you know me now. As I said last week, I hate dealing with people. It's the worst thing. Like, you can never rely on anyone but yourself.
Exactly. Funny story for the podcast. We may as well tell the public why we were 20 minutes late starting the show today.
Yeah.
My mother wouldn't let me start the podcast until I had the room cleaned. And the most scandalous thing is, Sean, there is a lady who comes in and cleans. Okay,
what?
She helps my mum because my mum's not really able fit to do it anymore. So my room has to be somewhat clean before the lady is even allowed into it, just to sweep the floor and mop the floor.
You have to clean before the cleaner
Exactly.
comes in.
Isn't that the most Irish thing in the world?
Ever. Yeah,
it's
it is.
scandalous. There we go. First episode of the SevereMMA drinking game. I've already said the word scandalous 6 minutes in.
Yeah,
so
we actually need one of them. I was listening to Heavy Hands there last week, and someone made them a drinking game. So someone needs to make us a drinking game.
Genuinely, it'd be my word, I think.
Yeah. Mine would be
Wonder Boy.
I'll say like a lot, and I say
like
that.
So yeah, the mother wouldn't let me down to the podcast until the room was somewhat done. The room was a bit of a kip, to be honest, but probably the cleanest that I've ever cleaned my room, or the quickest that I've ever cleaned my room.
Have you cleaned out your shed yet?
God no. My dad still isn't back yet. We need him there so he can give the go ahead and what can or cannot be thrown out. This is a 6-month project, Sean. This is not a restoration man cave. Like yours will be done pretty quick, but mine will need a lot of actual work done to the building because cats can crawl into it as it is.
Yeah, I thought mine would be a 6-month project as well, but actually turned into like a
2-week.
No, a bit longer than that.
Did you get your chair?
Yeah, I got my chair. It's sweet. 40 fucking schnatz. €40. Did you see the picture of it? It's on Instagram.
No.
Unreal chair recliner. I was looking at.
I have a recliner up in my room, a black one. I was going to give it to you.
Sweet. And I got a couch as well. Well, Patrick.
I saw the couch. It is a fine couch.
Yeah. I'm getting a table, stools, and a heater on Wednesday. I'm getting painted on Wednesday as well, and I'm getting flooring done early next week. So once I've done that, it's going to be basically done.
Question.
Yeah.
What do you make of heaters?
I don't really. We don't really use heaters here because we've central heating. But my man cave's out the back in the new, like we built on a small bit to the side of the house, and one in there. It doesn't have central heating and stuff, so I need a heater. So I don't really use any heaters. Why are you? Well, you tell me about heaters. This is good advice.
I have a heater in my room.
Yeah,
I'll take a picture of it and send it to you. It's one of the heaters that would have lit up in the past to simulate a log fire inside it.
Oh yes.
But really the heat comes out at the bottom. So, I better put my phone on silent there because that just vibrated everywhere.
Remember them super SIRS you could get years ago?
No, that's beyond my time. But the point is about them is these heaters, despite being so small and just plugging into the wall, I think houses could actually get rid of central heating and replace them with some of these heaters.
Electricity is very dear as well, though.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not too sure, but my room, for example, if you put that on for half an hour and shut all the windows, you're toasty for the rest of the night.
That's exactly what I need now. Actually, do send me a picture of that because I was buying. Where'd you get it?
I got it in Harvey Norman a couple of years ago before it shut in Dundalk.
How much was it?
Well, Harvey Norman was closing at the time, so I got it for €40, I think.
Not bad.
But it might have been cheaper. But literally, these things are like I wake up quite regularly about 3 hours after I've fallen asleep, and my room is an absolute sauna because it's still on. I fall asleep with it on. And then you can't taste anything in your mouth because it's dried out from the heat. You have to open all the windows for about 5 minutes and then you go back to bed. So
I'm the sort of guy who doesn't like the heat at all. I'd sit in a cold house like in the middle of winter, no problem.
Yeah, no, me too. You see, I'm not too sure what it is. I think I've had this discussion with Graham recently. Would you rather be too hot or too cold?
Oh, too cold, definitely.
I'm not sure.
I don't like being too hot. Like if I'm hot,
I think I could adapt. you know, the northeast, we have a very Mediterranean climate up here in
Yes.
Louth anyway. But I think I would adapt very well to a slight change in temperature. Like, I brown very easily, Sean. I'll put it that way. I look good with a tan.
I brown very easily as well, actually.
Do you?
Yeah.
We're going to have such nice matching tans this summer.
I've never burnt. I've never got sunburn in my life.
Well, I have. Quite badly.
Was it in Brazil that time?
Yeah, do you remember those pictures?
I do, yeah. I do.
Yeah. I don't want to say like any sort of degree sunburn, but my t-shirts then were like sticking to it and getting fabric in it.
Oh, fuck that.
And
I hate that.
once again, Sebastian Tars' fault for letting me into the pool with no sun cream on. But that's an issue for another day.
Remember that big heat wave like 4 years ago, maybe?
Yes,
It was like
and no.
40 degrees.
Yeah, I can remember we had unreal weather for a while. It was around the time that I was just getting used to starting driving and thinking it was the best thing in the world. And then going out to Carlingford, going out pier jumping all the time. So it was...
I couldn't cope with that. It was too hot. I always sleep with my room windows closed, and I had to open both of them, and I was still boiling. I just couldn't cope with it at all. It was too hot. It was like 20 degrees at night time. Oh, fuck that.
I am looking forward to all of this. You know, the upcoming summer weather. I'm not going to
hopefully
lie.
it'll be good. A bit of it's nice though, because it kind of revitalizes you. Like, it kind of, you know, it brings
Vitamin
your
D.
levels back up. Yeah, a bit of vitamin D is always
Good for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, how's the form? Are we ready to talk about our favourite light heavyweight pairing?
Yeah, I suppose. What Rashad
Oh,
Evans
by
and
the way,
Teixeira, is it?
Guess what? I'm a little bit annoyed we're recording today, Sean, to be honest.
Why?
Because we're very close to the 3-year anniversary of Conor McGregor's UFC debut.
Oh, are we? Jesus. Would he fight again, Marcus Brimage? Good old fight, wasn't it? He won it, didn't he? 96 seconds or something.
First round finish, yeah, against Marcus Brimage. 60 G's, baby, etc., etc. The rest is history.
Indeed. So, let's get to it, I suppose. This week, well, as we were finishing the podcast with last week,
Yes, it overlapped, I think.
Yeah, John Jones was went up in court in front of a judge with Helen Mirren lookalike.
What about me last week on the podcast saying nothing will come from this? LOL, JK, John Jones spends 2 days in jail.
2 days in jail, yeah, but he got away with it anyway. Basically, he can't drive, and he's after actually employing a driver now, which is smart. So it was looking all, it was all looking good. John Jones versus DC was on. Jones has been out of jail. He's back training, posted videos of Instagram, and then boom, pow, Daniel Cormier pulls out injured, replaced by Ovance Saint-Preux for an interim title with John Jones. Thoughts?
Right.
Question mark.
Who's going to mention the interim title first? Here's what I think.
Yes.
The UFC had no intention of putting an interim title fight on. John Jones, despite his positive demeanour on Instagram, said there is no hope of me fighting on this card, lads, unless you put an interim title on the line. And the UFC were like, I guess we have to put an interim title on the line. OSP gets the call. There it is. Am I looking into that too much?
I don't know. The first thought I had, right, was, okay, they put an interim title up because there's no way in hell you get someone to fight John Jones in short notice unless you did that.
Yeah, there is. I'd say there's an element of that in it as well, to be fair.
This interim title, like, okay, we're going to be talking about Edgar and Aldo later in that interim title. But this one,
Small miniature flags for some.
It makes absolutely no sense at all. There's absolutely no need for it. Like, Cormier defended his belt, and that was just like 6 months ago. He's out for what? He said 6 weeks. He said if he wanted to be back by UFC 200, if they wanted to put him on that, he would be back. So what? Like, why are you taking? He's not taking his title, but why are you making an interim? Like, there's no point in making an interim at all. It's basically just so you can give John Jones a belt, and yeah, look, these things happen when it's on short notice. They make these belts, but look, we all know. We spoke about it last week. It's Nate Diaz is right. These belts are fairy tales. That's all they are. Like, the more things like this happen, the more it turns out that they are just pure fairy tales. Like belts are great until like you kind of get to a certain level, and then they're kind of just pointless. Like we all know John Jones is the best light heavyweight in the world, even though Daniel Cormier has the belt. We all know Habib is the best lightweight in the world, even though RDA has the belt. If Jose Aldo beats Frankie Edgar for the interim title, he just got knocked out in 13 seconds by Conor McGregor. And he is belts are basically just a promotional tool, and they always have been. But look, they're a great thing to work towards and everything. And for guys say like Demetrius Johnson and in divisions like that, it proves like you're one of the best in the world, or the best in the world at that moment, or whatever you want to call it. But when you get to like levels like Conor McGregor or Ronda Rousey or John Jones, it's a fight for who's best rather than a fight for the belt. If you know what I mean.
It's a fight for the money.
Yeah, it's a fight for the money, exactly. But just that, on Owen Semperu as well. Imagine the phone call that came out to him. It's like, okay, listen, we're gonna want to get you to fight John Jones on 2 weeks' notice, right? And then if you beat him, right, all you have to do then is beat Daniel Cormier, and then you're the real champion. That's all you have to do.
Seems legit.
Seems okay.
Also, the quickest possible route OSP would have had to a title, regardless.
Well, I don't know. He's not that far away. There isn't that many more people in the, up there. Rumble Johnson is the only one really ahead of him. Who else is there? I don't think Rashad is getting that shot at Jones. Again, Glover Teixeira is definitely not getting this. Like, I think he could have taken maybe an easier fight and gotten to a title.
I think they would have maybe matched OSP with Gustafsson sometime this year. Like,
hopefully they're paying him that goofy short money to for this fight, because he deserves it, stepping in against John Jones on such short notice. But yeah, what do you think anyway of the whole situation, the DC injury and everything?
Well, first of all, out of all the tweets that happened last night, someone gave John Jones abuse for not putting his name in the tweet, and he said, no, I did, it was at the end of the tweet, I just didn't capitalise the P on pussy. And I was like, oh my god.
Oh, those tweets last night were just the best.
They were brilliant. John Jones is on another level in terms of his humour, in terms of his absolute scathing attacks on Cormier, and you just see the difference. Jones getting like a couple of thousand retweets for every tweet, Cormier gets 22, and it's like, yeah, there's one clear fan favourite here in this, and for whatever reason, because realistically John Jones shouldn't in any way, shape or form be the fan favourite for this fight, but still everybody wants to see him back, everyone wants to see him win, everyone is in his corner completely.
If WrestleMania taught us anything, nobody likes a good guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I do like, and don't worry, we will, I know eager listeners probably perked up there thinking, finally they're going to stop talking about this shit. Finally, and talk about WrestleMania. That's coming later in the show, I can guarantee you. 17 minutes in, we're not quite ready to talk about the comings and goings of Shane O'Mac's death-defying stunt at the weekend, but we are going to get there, I promise you that. Daniel Cormier's injury, though, he is genuinely injured. He's not just hurt. That was the differentiation that he made on Twitter last night. He said if he was hurt, he'd still be there in 3 weeks' time to kick your ass, Jones. He's injured. UFC 200 seems like the absolute perfect time. People are saying maybe the card is lacking something. It's lacking a card. It's lacking one fight. Maybe one big name to make it take over the beat. Yeah, okay, this is a landmark UFC event. I think first things first, the UFC should get on their knees and absolutely pray that John Jones beats OSP so they can set up the Cormier match at UFC 200. But I do believe that Cormier is genuinely hurt. He's never pulled out of a fight before. I'd say it absolutely killed him to have to pull out of this fight. Wasn't it Talk MMA on Twitter who had the scoop about a week before everyone else? His friend was at a jiu-jitsu tournament that Cormier was at, and Cormier was limping, not able to put any real weight onto his leg, and then a week later comes out, Cormier's out. So I do think it was something, but AKA have a pretty bad record at the moment when it comes to guys staying healthy and staying fit before fights.
Yeah, it's definitely a real injury and stuff, but the thing with me when I always hear about this rematch since they've made it, and all this trash talking and stuff, there's always that niggling feeling in the back of my head that, okay, this is all great and all, this rivalry is real, these guys don't like each other, but John Jones is so much better than him, and he's getting better, and Daniel Cormier is not going to close that gap any bit. And like, if I know that, and if you know that, and if every smart person knows that, Daniel Cormier knows that as well. And, like I said, I was talking to someone there yesterday and I said, like, this is the best. This is the only way Daniel Cormier was holding on to that belt for
a little bit longer.
For a little bit longer. Like, I'm not saying he pulled out,
to hold on to a belt for a couple of extra weeks.
but it just looking, it kind of worked out that way.
He's got a couple of big high profile event signings in the next couple of weeks. He needs the belt for the extra 10 grand fee.
Yeah. Like for Doom, the time he won the belt, like, oh no, I'm injured, I'm going to be out for a year.
A year doing seminars around the world. Yeah. It's like, I just tapped Fedor Emelianenko, BRB, doing triangle seminars at MMA gyms all around the world.
Yeah, but that must be a weird feeling for Cormier, like, because I'd find it very hard. Maybe he knows he's a pro wrestling fan as well. He knows, like, you have to get all this trash talk in and stuff. But it must be hard for him to do it too, knowing like he got bested by Jones before, and it's probably going to happen again. But,
I don't think he's thinking that it's probably going to happen again.
But I don't know. I know these fighters kind of talk themselves into things, and they tell themselves that they're gonna beat guys, but deep down, I think they know. Especially someone like Cormier, who I think he fought his best fight he's ever fought against John Jones, and he still lost well. Like, so,
I disagree. I disagree, and this is going to be a standard issue for anybody who wants to zone out for the next 2 minutes. There's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu reference coming in here to my point.
I'm only joking. Go on.
Is that once someone beats you in a tournament, I've been beaten by people multiple times in tournaments, and I've gotten wins over them after having been beaten by them. And for me, it just makes you want to train harder. It makes you want to get better. It makes you want to get that person again in the first round of the next tournament, so you can turn around to everyone and prove that, I can beat them. I don't think, like, fair enough, Jones did play into Cormier's game and beat him everywhere, and he probably was on all sorts of concoctions of things at that time because John Jones lived a party lifestyle. So he claimed before every fight. So I am really interested in seeing what this John Jones does, because I do agree with you when it's going to be a total wipeout in this fight compared to maybe, say, the last fight when he already had the fight of his life and it still wasn't enough. But I don't think that Cormier should be discouraged because he doesn't know. What's stopping Cormier from thinking Jones is lying about his last fight? What if Jones was at his best ever for that last fight against Cormier?
Even if he was, he's still putting it in for it's not going to be different this time. And like, as you said there, like, you'll say you're a blue belt now and say you have room to improve, like you'll become a purple belt and a black belt or whatever, but these guys are at black belt level now, right? And like, they're not really getting better. Maybe Jones is because he's younger and stuff, but Cormier is deep into his 30s. He is what he is now. He's not going to change. He's not going to, as John Jones said to him, he's not going to get any faster. He's not going to get that much better. Obviously, there's things you can, maybe game plans you can conjure up, and obviously things will improve in little bits. But with these injuries as well, his ACL he has been fucked up since way before he won the title, before the Jones. Remember? Before the Jones fight, like, they were on about him not even being able to take it, the first one, because of his knee, and he took it anyway. Like, Cormier, there's no way he can train as much as guys, say, who have his experience in MMA but are younger and healthier. Yes. So, I think it's going to be very tough. Like, Cormier is a smart guy, and fighters do, as I said earlier, fighters do kind of cod themselves into believing it sometimes, which in one way is a good thing, because you fight, maybe it encourages guys to fight better and fight above their level. But I think Cormier is a very, very smart dude, and I think he knows him. As I said, if we know it, he definitely knows it. But what about this OSP fight anyway? Do you give him any chance?
I saw a brilliant tweet yesterday that I am going to pull up to quote, because I don't want to say it and then someone called me up on it. I don't know if you follow this guy, right? His name on Twitter is @UncleFester, UNCLFESTR.
I haven't seen him in a long time. Yeah,
I think he used to be involved in MMA in something. Like, I think he used to have a podcast or something, but I've followed him for years. Now his tweet that he put up about So he said Bones is a bullshit artist with his light heavyweight, it doesn't matter routine. He took the OSP fight because he's been training for a wrestler with inferior striking, and that's exactly what he's getting in this match with OSP.
I don't know
Fair?
about that.
Unfair?
I think OSP is more of a striker, to be honest. Look, OSP's not that. He's good. He's a good fighter, like, but he fought Rafael Feijão in his last fight. He got a little bit injured and he kind of recovered again, but it was just a woeful performance by him. Got beat by Glover Teixeira before that. 3 fights before that, got beat by Ryan Bader.
So,
look,
Owen St. Prue's Twitter page, last retweet, story on Fox Sports, headline, OSP says he'll at least have a hell of a story to tell by fighting John Jones.
Yeah.
Right? So if that's not, yo guys, collecting my paycheck here, where's John Jones at? Gets into the cage, taps out, see yous later, you goof. That's pretty much, it seems like he's setting himself up here already. I don't know.
Well, I'm sure he'll go in there with the mindset that
he can win.
That he can win because
stranger things have happened in mixed martial arts.
When you've got like that, like, he's a power puncher. He's 9 knockout wins. Like, why not go in there and just give it like a round? I'm saying like Cormier knows that he can't win. Like, I don't think Cormier has the punching power of OSP, and I think that's the only way to beat John Jones, because you're not gonna. I don't think anyone in the world is going to beat John Jones over decision. Like, we've spoken about it many times, that Rumble Johnson, we think, is the guy that could beat John Jones. Like, I don't think he'll beat him. I don't think you think he'll beat him, do you? But he's the guy who could do it because he has that big punch, to knock him out. And I think OSP is, he's an awkward. I think he's a southpaw as well. So, maybe, but I wouldn't be backing it at all. I think Rumble Johnson has a better chance of being that guy, but never bet on a puncher's chance in MMA unless they have a lot of things behind it. But look, for OSP, hopefully it'll be a big money day for him. Fair play to him for stepping in on short notice and taking this fight. I'm sure a lot of other guys wouldn't do it. Rumble Johnson couldn't get cleared. Apparently he had some...
Well, that's the weird thing about it, because Rumble Johnson's team a few days beforehand said that he's fit, training, ready, and would take the fight if anyone falls out. Fast forward a couple of days later, actually, no, he had a dental procedure yesterday and he can't put a gum shield in his mouth and won't be able to take the fight.
That was like Frank Edgar when he said...
or Jose Aldo when he said anywhere, anytime, any place.
That's a little bit different now, but
Frank Edgar, not really.
Frank Edgar is the one who says, like, oh, Conor McGregor's dodging me the whole time, even though you were offered the fight against him and you couldn't take it. That's weird. But anyway, yeah, OSP. Look, this is...
It'll be good crack, if nothing else. We still get to see how, like... I'm not going to shit all over this because I still think it could be an entertaining fight. I think it could be a somewhat competitive fight if OSP comes out and puts the absolute juice on him in the first round. I think we could see a very exciting first round. But, how much more annoyed would we be if John Jones wasn't fighting in this card? How annoyed would we be right now if it was like, oh crap, Cormier is injured and they're shelving that fight until UFC 200. Fair enough, I can wait until the UFC 200, but I am just more in, like, I don't care about the Cormier thing, I don't care about who he fights. I just want to see what John Jones looks like in the octagon now. Completely changed, away from a life of turmoil outside of the octagon. This is where we're going to actually get to see probably the greatest mixed martial artist to ever live finally fight at somewhere near his full potential.
I wish it was Mark Hunt. That's what I was hoping.
Well, Mark Hunt was looking for it. Shane Carwin decided to try and reconsider retirement. Yeah. I'd get the fight quicker than Shane Carwin would. Like, cop yourself on. Then, who else was looking for it heavyweight?
Derek Lewis,
Hunt,
I think, maybe.
Carwin, and there was someone else, and I can't think of it. It's really annoying me.
my first thought when this fight was made was, and I kind of have this a lot when things like this happen. Remember Johnny Hendricks when he was coming up to towards the title picture, and I think he won like 7 in a row. Remember, like, he one punch knocked out Fitch and Campman
as well.
He was knocking the shit out of everyone, and then he got to the top level, and he started going to loads of decisions. He'd like 2 decisions with Robbie Lawler, and he stopped finishing guys. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, St. Pierre. But the kind of similar thing kind of happens to everyone, because you're fighting lesser guys when you're making your way up, but when you get to the top, you're fighting the champion, obviously, and then if you win it, you're fighting the top challengers all the time. So it's kind of hard, to finish him. I think John Jones has gone to decision the last 3 in a row, but now John Jones is taking another step down. He's fighting the number 6 guy in the world, who is probably lucky to be, number 6 guy in the world. There's a big gap. There's levels in the light heavyweight division. There's the 3 top guys.
Exactly.
And then there's everyone else. And I think this could be a real showcase for John Jones. I think he could absolutely blow him out in the first 2 rounds here, I think.
Well, I don't want to say more importantly, because still a very good point. There was an image doing the rounds on Twitter yesterday of the top 10 of the light heavyweights. Yeah. And it was like, who's booked, blah, blah, blah. On that list, OSP and someone else, I can't think for the life of me who it was, are the only 2 people that Jones hasn't beaten in that list.
It was actually John Jones.
It was John Jones and OSP.
Himself, yeah.
All right,
yeah.
So every other single person he had beaten in dramatic, devastating fashion. So I can understand the UFC, because I think a rematch with Jones against any of those guys would be hard to sell, considering the fact that Jones beat all of those guys when, through his own admittance, he was partying, he was doing this, he was doing that, he wasn't up to standard, and he still wiped all of those guys out. Who would actually want to see UFC 197, the rematch we've all been waiting for, former bros now going to throw down once again, John Jones versus Rashad Evans? No way. Jones would finish him in the first and laugh at the prospect of having to fight him again. John Jones versus Shogun 2. No, thank you.
Jesus.
Way to retire Shogun early. They're like, no way, don't do that sort of thing. This is fair enough. I'm okay with seeing this match, because at least, as I said, the main priority, my main point, if you take nothing away from this podcast, take away from it, ladies and gentlemen, that in a couple of weeks' time we are going to be graced with the return of the best fighter to ever fight in the UFC. He's coming back into the octagon in a couple of weeks' time.
Cody McKenzie?
Yes, Cody McKenzie, Venator Fighting Championships, the 21st of May.
Is he on that card?
In Milan. Yes, he is.
Oh my God, I want to go.
That was a nice segue there, wasn't it? That was beautiful. Yeah. I think I am going. I mean, you see, I'm not too sure. Here's my predicament, Sean. I'll just throw it out to you here before we get on to the Aldo Edgar discussion. Venator Fighting Championships. We've got Peter Queally fighting on it. We've got Carl Moore fighting on it. I think Dylan Took was talking about maybe getting matched on it for a while. Or we have Reese McKee versus Tommy McCafferty at UXC up north.
Oh, is that definitely happening?
Yes, I need to clone myself.
Wait, what date is that happening?
Both on the same date, the 21st of May.
Whereabouts is that UXC card?
Oh! Why?
I'm just wondering.
Oh, you're thinking about it?
Do you need a passport to get to Northern Ireland?
No, you don't. You're okay.
I've never been to Northern Ireland.
And
I don't have a passport.
I'm not going to lie to you, Sean.
Yeah.
You would hate the drive, because it's at least 2 hours plus from my house.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I don't mind though.
Yeah, because you'd make Patrick drive.
Yeah, that'd be fucking unreal fight.
It is going to be a great fight.
Yeah.
And that could be it. Sean Sheehan, couple of interviews. Do my job for me while I'm over in Milan.
I don't know about that now, but no, we'll see. I wouldn't mind road tripping.
There we go.
See.
We'll talk about preliminary.
The man from UXC, what's it, Martin?
UXC, I have no idea.
He listens to the podcast as well, I believe.
Does he?
Yeah.
There's 2 or 3 guys involved with them.
Stuart McQuitty actually listens to the podcast. Oh, we mentioned him last week. He was, what did he ask me? He asked me.
There is one guy involved with UXC that at some event, I haven't seen him in quite a while though, so I'm pretty sure that he's not involved in it anymore. At a Cage Contender show, he was... he came up to me and he started giving off about Cage Contender, saying how they do it much better. And then he was like, and who are you again? And I was like, I wanted to turn around and say, I'm the person you've been messaging on Facebook asking why I haven't done any interviews at your show. You know right well who I am, so stop acting drunken that you don't know who I am. But look, we let these things lie, Sean, you know?
No, you don't.
I don't hold bitter grudges.
Okay.
But whatever. I haven't seen that guy since at a UXC show. So I assume he has nothing to do with it now anymore.
They always put on good shows though, don't they?
No, yeah, they do. And I have to admit, I do like them. And well-matched amateur fights, cool venues. Always getting a couple of pro fights in now in the last couple of shows as well. So if you can't go, the people listening should support it. If you're listening, if you're from the north, even if you're from the northeast, the Midlands, whatever, we road trip. Local domestic Irish MMA, as long as the McCafferty versus McKee fight stays through and sticks on the card, then you're pretty much you would pay the price of a ticket to watch that fight alone.
That's an unbelievable
fight.
It's
a scandalously good fight. There we go, second one of the day. Scandalous. Take another shot.
Here, come here. Just
come
before
here
we get to Aldo Edgar. The McGregor Diaz fight has been confirmed this week, and okay, we've talked about it ad nauseum at this stage.
Excellent use of ad nauseum.
Thank you. But one thing we haven't really talked about much, because it wasn't confirmed until this week, is the weight. 170, right? And this is a hot topic, right? Because okay, we've talked about how this fight, we don't mind seeing this fight. There was a lot of outrage about the fight and stuff. We don't mind seeing this fight happening, and we understand why it's happening. I think a lot of people do understand why it's happening, and some people aren't okay with that, other people are okay with it. No, I think that's fair enough. But the weight at 170 is just weird, and I think, I don't know your thoughts on it, but I think it's kind of stupid. Look, Dana White came out and said that Conor McGregor demanded it. I wrote a little article on it
then
as well, and then John Kavanagh came out and tweeted that the UFC demanded it. What were the exact words? UFC insisted on it. Sorry, those were his exact words. UFC insisted on it, and he said he didn't mind that it was fine. They agreed to it, but they initially wanted it. He initially wanted it. John Kavanagh at 155,
or he suggested 155, but he was okay with it.
Yeah.
I'm not like.
It's an odd one, isn't it?
You'd have to imagine if John Kavanagh is suggesting the fight's at 155, then everyone else around Conor is suggesting it at 155. But to say that he wouldn't be able to win the fight at 170 and he would be able to win the fight at 155, in my opinion, is ludicrous. I think the only difference in the fight being at 170 is my biggest annoyance at it being at 170 is if Nate Diaz wins again, you can't give him any sort of credibility in terms of the 155-pound rankings. Do you know what I mean? If he's looking to go after those rematches, looking to get another shot at the title, 2 wins against a featherweight at 170 is going to do nothing for him in the 155 division. Yeah. So, and I know Diaz, as you said, fairy tales and stuff about the belt. Diaz isn't motivated by the belt. He's motivated about getting his losses back more than anything. And that was what the biggest thing he came out with. Like, this is the... So Nate Diaz is playing the ultimate troll at the moment, right?
Yeah, he is.
It's so good. Like, he is absolutely wrecking the UFC in every public statement, being like... Where was my rematches? Where was my rematch? It took me 4 years to get Gray Maynard again. This guy gets praised for an effort and he gets an instant rematch while I'm still chasing losses. And Diaz is probably going to make double what he made the last time because it's such a huge fight now. And he's going to put himself in an even better position if he wins the rematch. And he's still taking all of these shots at the UFC.
The best thing, though, is... whilst on an interview set up by the UFC, he gave out about the UFC not giving him interviews and stuff since he won, and not pushing him since he won, and pushing McGregor. But McGregor has done no interview, and it's Diaz has been on Fox Sport, UFC Tonight, The Buzzer. He was on Jay and Dan's podcast. He was everywhere. He's like, they haven't been pushing me, and I love the way he's doing it, even though he's on a podcast
Ultimate
where the UFC
troll.
are pushing him.
Ultimate troll.
But it's brilliantly because people are believing it, people are eating it up. Oh, he's selling them wolf tickets, but it's hilariously brilliant.
Tell me what you think. I know you're not a fan of the 170.
No, I'm not. You see, I wish we knew why. I think everyone thinks it was McGregor, and look, I probably think it was McGregor as well, who decided to have it at 170. And if it was,
I think it's the UFC. And I said this during the week. Yeah, I said during the. Brian Stan wrote an article during the week and it was brilliant. He said the reason that they're doing this is because if Conor loses against Nate again, it's at 170 and then his next fight is Frankie Edgar for his title and there's still massive interest. If Conor lost to Frankie Edgar for the 145-pound belt at UFC 200 compared to losing against Diaz again, Conor plummets. If he loses to Frankie at 200, he would have plummeted. That would have been a bad move for him. If he loses against Diaz again, cool, didn't work. Frankie Edgar just knocked out Jose Aldo earlier on in the night. Line that motherfucker up. We're already going to be excited about Conor McGregor's next fight before him and Diaz will have already got in the cage, because we'll know who the interim champion is at UFC 200.
Yeah.
I think the UFC are maybe protecting it, and I think maybe if anyone was going to be insistent on it, I'd have to say it's the UFC. Conor definitely maybe a mixture of both. So Conor believes in his own ability, that he's going to be able to do it again anyway. So we've got that factor. Then the other side of it is the UFC are protecting their investment, that if Conor lost it again, then it has to be some sort of damage control. At 170, that's the best way to do it, damage control. Conor McGregor fighting 2 weight classes above he should normally fight, blah, blah, blah. Took the fight, didn't work out, but he's still the champion, and he's going to fight Frankie Edgar later on in the year in Madison Square Garden in the main event.
I have a theory here, right? Right, first of all, I think if someone asked me what would I say,
what do you think? What do you think?
I think I'd probably say it was, as I said earlier, I did probably think it was Conor McGregor, and I think it's a thing of I want it exactly the way I had it the last time, and I want to beat him at 170. I want to prove I can beat him at 170. Whether you call that an ego thing or whatever, that I think that's fair enough. But if it is the UFC, and I don't think it is the UFC, but if it is the UFC, do you think it could be a thing of, why was GSP there the last time? GSP's there. You heard Kenny Florian, he was on Fighter and the Kid podcast, and he was hinting at why was he fighting at 170? Maybe there's other 170s out there that he's going to fight.
Or
GSP is a big star as well on the East Coast and Canada, up towards that way. Is there a big card coming up in the East Coast of America? Maybe at the end of the year,
something
that GSP and McGregor could fight on if McGregor beats Diaz at 170.
Well, if you want my take on it, Sean, one final take on it, one hot take on it. Nate Diaz did say, first of all, Firas Zahabi trying to play off St. Pierre being there because he wanted to witness history was kind of funny. Nate Diaz, though, dropping absolute scoops in his interviews, saying, I've pissed McGregor off, I've pissed GSP off because now he can't come back and fight him at 200, and more importantly, I've pissed the UFC off.
And he said, literally, here's a quote from Nate Diaz, LOL, motherfuckers.
Great man. So,
man.
I do believe that the UFC were angling towards a Conor McGregor GSP super fight. Whether it's dead in the water, whether it may or may not be, fair enough. You have to say, though, if they wanted to get Conor an easy win at 170, they could have got him an easy win at 170. He's going after a relatively hard guy in Nate Diaz. Just it's at a weight class at 170. It's not like. So if you had to put Conor McGregor up against Hector Lombard, then you're going to start questioning things. But the Diaz fight is a big enough name to be able to say, yeah, okay, fair enough. Conor gets to fight GSP next. Yeah. Do you think that they'll do that? Do you actually think that they'll just surpass Frankie Edgar completely for the laugh and just be like, yeah, you won the interim title. There you go. Now it's an official title. Conor would just be like, right, away from me now. I've got proper business to look after. St. Pierre in the biggest fight in history.
It'd be a good reason to bring in an interim title, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
To just have someone
there. Do you know what,
in case.
Though? I think the general public and the featherweight division should, let's say best case scenario, Conor beats Diaz at UFC 200, Frankie Edgar beats Jose Aldo. Right?
Yeah.
Interim title. If at the press conference it was announced, look, Frankie, are you okay with keeping this interim title? Maybe even defending the interim title in Madison Square Garden so you can say you fought there, so Conor can doddle up and fight George St. Pierre.
Max Holloway, your boy.
That's it. Oh, and then you've got the biggest rematch in UFC history. Holloway versus McGregor 2, UFC Hawaii, early 2017. Mahalo.
Yeah. There's a lot of speculation going on here, but what do you think of...
We've either just speculated massively or we were the ones that intercepted the UFC strategic email that was hacked last week, huh?
We've hit the fucking nail on the head there, I think. Probably not, but...
I can just imagine Dana and Lorenzo just writing everything down that we're saying here. This is gold. Cancel the rest of 2016. We've got a new plan.
Yeah, but on the interim title between Edgar and Aldo, personally, I think that was the right decision. I called it. I said it. They should do it.
You did call it psychic Sheehan.
Yeah. Look, we're talking about McGregor fighting Diaz if he wins, fighting GSP. So there's there's a possibility that McGregor doesn't fight for the featherweight belt, maybe ever again, or maybe he could fight for it in 6 months, which would be almost a year since he's last fought for it, or it could be like early next year again, which would be like what 22 months or something since he last fought for it. So like, okay, at the moment, McGregor it's 4 or 5 months since he last fought for it. So that's not long enough to strip him, of the belt. Anything could happen. Like Diaz could get injured tomorrow and he could be back, fighting Frankie Edgar. He could get injured. Anything could happen. So it's not long enough to strip him for the belt. But then you also have these plans that he is fighting Diaz and he's fighting him, in a card that's 3 months away or 4 months away or whatever. And you've Frankie Edgar, who is, I think we'd all agree, he's earned himself a title shot. You have Jose Aldo, who was a champion for years, lost once, and probably deserves a rematch or title shot anyway. So you can't hold them up. Like, you can't hold those two guys up. There's interim titles like that John Jones one where they ferry it up out of nowhere, and it's pointless. But this one makes sense, right? It makes sense because it keeps the division going. It gives you someone to replace Conor McGregor if he doesn't come back. And if he does come back, it gives you a unification bout. So, like, it's a win-win-win, like, for everyone, I think. If they hadn't put in the interim title between Edgar and Aldo, you come to November and maybe you've Conor McGregor against GSP, or you've Conor McGregor against Robbie Lawler, or if he decides not to come back. And then you have the same situation with the winner of the Aldo Edgar fight. They're saying, give me my title shot. At least then, if they had a title, as you say, Max Holloway, get in there, defend it again, whatever, or wait for McGregor, and you still have your title. You can get your extra money now from that title, So I look, for me, it makes perfect sense. You saw they're exact polar opposites. I think the Jones one and the Jones OSP one and the Aldo Edgar one. One makes perfect sense. It's a long-term view that could be short-term. One is just a short-term view, and I think Aldo Edgar, they were dead right to put in the interim title. What do you think?
Oh no, I think that's. Last week you made a very good point that I said that could have been your most intelligent point that you've made. This is probably a close second, so I will give you that. I think people complaining about interim titles, like, how many times do we have to explain and have to understand and accept that the landscape of the sport as a whole is changing?
Yeah.
Fair enough, an interim title in the past, yeah, that was cool when Frank Mir went off a motorbike and shattered his leg, and no, he won the interim title, didn't he?
He got stripped of it, didn't he?
Or did he get stripped?
Yeah, they just took the title from him.
Right. Well, better example.
But there was ones in featherweight or heavyweight.
Carlos Condit, for example. Yeah. And then people are like, okay, yeah, that's fair enough. We can do it an interim title for now. But the landscape of the sport has changed. You're dead right when you say that titles mean nothing anymore. Yeah. They're for the divisions that don't have money-making stars in them. Titles are just to show who the best is in a division that doesn't have any drawing power, in an attempt maybe to incite people into watch it because it's a title fight, 5 rounds. Different. That's the way I think I'm looking at it these days.
Yeah, me too. I just want to see the best fights. Like, I wanted to see Rumble Johnson against John Jones way more than I wanted to see John Jones against Cormier. Like, I want to see Khabib Nurmagomedov against Tony Ferguson way more than I want to see Dos Anjos fight anyone
for the title.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, completely. And it would make the world a better place if Khabib versus Tony Ferguson was actually for a title. Do you know? It would make, I don't want to say give the title a little bit more prestige, but if you put me in a room and you said, Andrew, you're on death row, you're about to die, you can watch one mixed martial arts fight before you die. On the menu today, after your starter and your last meal course, you have the choice of a 5-round extravaganza between the champion Rafael Dos Anjos versus Eddie Alvarez, or you can watch Khabib Nurmagomedov fight Tony Ferguson in a 3-round fight. What am I going to pick? And what is every other mixed martial arts fan alive going to pick?
Yeah, we all know Khabib, Tony.
Tony knows.
But look,
Tony the Truth, Ferguson.
Titles are great because they give the whole thing structure and stuff. But what I love about MMA is that you can move away from that structure when you needs be. Like, this is the most fun sport. Like, if you got an FA Cup final between fucking, I don't know,
Don't say it. No,
Liverpool and Blackburn or something. Like, who gives a shit about that? But you can imagine if you had the power to say, look, Blackburn, you don't really deserve it. We're going to bring in Everton instead. We're going to bring in Man United instead. We have a Liverpool and Man United FA Cup final. Imagine if you could do that. It'd be brilliant, wouldn't it?
Not really, because I think there's a difference there now, in fairness.
Yeah, but still, that's kind of what happens, though. That's kind of is what happens. Like, Gustafsson lost, and then he was brought in and fought Cormier because that's the better fight. You know, when Ryan Bader had won his way to the top. It's the same thing, like, basically.
I don't know.
MMA, people are always giving out about MMA being a sport, and I think, MMA people discussing whether it's a sport are very different from non-MMA people discussing whether it's a sport, right? When MMA people discuss it's a sport, it's talking about what we were just talking about, people getting to the top, getting to the top level and earning their way to the top. Look, MMA is only a sport when it gets into the octagon or when it gets into the arena with all the safe stuff, with all the doctors, with the fight itself, with the referee, with the judges. That's when it's a sport. But before that, it's entertainment. The matchmaking is made via entertainment. Okay, you can earn your way to the top and everything, and it has little bits of it. But it is entertainment as well. Like, they're going to give a more exciting guy more opportunities, and they're going, guys who are not as excited are going to get caught or not going to get to the titles quickly. Look, I spoke about Johnny Hendricks earlier when a lot of people saw him as a boring wrestler, but then he started knocking guys out and he got there. Like, it happens an awful lot, and personally, I don't mind that because I like to see an exciting sport. I like it that way. It's okay. It has the sporting aspect as well, but it also brings in what's best for business.
Oh, here, Triple H, cut your shit here so we can talk about Norman Parke getting released.
Yeah, fuck it. What did you think? Personally, for me, when you're in a one-fight losing streak, okay, I know he lost 3 out of his last 4, but he beat Reza Madadi 2 fights ago.
We'll take this opportunity, Sean, very quickly. SevereMMA is on Snapchat, because I'm actually recording myself right now here for the Snapchat story. Podcast discussion going on live here. There's Sean Sheehan in the background.
What's the crack? Oh, you can't see me.
Yeah, can't hear you either. That's a nice wee segue. I think it's a joke. I'm sorry. Maybe there's a hint of bias in my voice, and I
saw a lot of people saying it though. I saw Conor Ebush saying it there, that it was a bit unfair that Parke got cut as well.
I just think now, one of my mainstays in terms of analysis on this podcast, i.e. Norman Parke being good enough to fight in the UFC for his entire career, is now gone. I can't rely on that. I can't just fall back on a little throwaway remark like that anymore. It's just, I'm more upset over that than anything. I do think in an alternate universe, and this is something that I've been speaking about with a lot of people during the week. What was Norman's record again? 5-3-1.
5-3-1, yeah.
So 9 fights in the UFC. There is a fair world, or there is a parallel universe somewhere where Norman Parke went 8-1 in the UFC.
I was just thinking the same thing, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's where I think this cut is the harshest thing possible.
Yeah.
The UFC, fair enough. You could also argue Norman hasn't got a single finish in the UFC, as far as I know.
He has one.
He has won against Katani at UFC Dublin. But aside from that, one finish in 9 fights. If we're talking about a generic US bit, let's take this out of an Irish context here. If we're talking about like a generic US fighter, do you know what I mean? That we have no real attachment to, and you say, got cut the other day, 5-3-1, hasn't finished anyone. He's only finished one guy in 9 fights. You'd be like, yeah, okay, fair enough, cut him. You'd be like, yeah, that's fair enough, the sport's moving away from this. But if it is true about an EMEA date that's going to be Q2 2016, then Norman Parke needs to have been kept around. You were about to take a big intake of breath there, Sean. Are you alright?
No, okay. My thing on this is, when I put up the article about this, because we rang him up and kind of confirmed it with him, because it was April Fools and people didn't know.
Yeah. What an awful day to post it on Facebook, Norman, as well. Jesus.
Well, they probably announced it. It was an awful day to tell him. But
no, his birthday would have been worse.
Yeah, it would have been. But there was an awful lot of negativity towards Norman, which I hadn't seen before, and it was, it was odd. Usually when guys get cut like that, there's, a lot of kind of positivity, you'll be back, or sorry to hear that or whatever, but it was weird, and a lot of people calling him boring. So, like, I know he's gotten to a lot of decisions, but I'm just personally, and I could be wrong, like, if you're listening to this and you disagree with me, fair enough, I never thought he was that boring of a fighter, to be honest. Okay, he went to a lot of decisions, but you're in the lightweight division, he's fighting tough guys. I never thought he was that boring of a decision.
He was never in a boring fight, I don't think.
No, not really. The Tebow fight maybe was the only one.
John Tuck, I would say, maybe being his only boring fight.
Yeah.
But
if you look back, as you said, at his losses, though, the draw, even Leandro Santos, arguably he should have won that fight. Still, that he got a point taken. Look, it was a borderline kind of one. Gleison Tebow beat him, but afterwards failed drug tests. One fight later or something. Francisco Trinaldo absolutely robbed. That was a clear robbery in that fight. And Rustem Habilov, another, went to the decision.
The Habilov fight, I think, is the only fight that Norman genuinely lost in the UFC.
Yeah. Well, he lost the Tebow fight as well, but...
I think the Tebow fight in another place with 3 other judges, or interpreted by 3 other different people, then Norman gets a split decision, or Norman steals a win.
I don't know about that.
I'd need to watch it back.
The Trinaldo one definitely was absolutely robbed. If he had won that, you're looking at 2 losses in what was it, 9 fights?
Yeah,
and that was a genuine robbery. Like, beat my daddy in a good fight. I think it's very harsh. Like, Norman, when he came to the UFC, he won the tough, and we thought he'd kick on maybe in a bit. He hasn't really kicked on maybe to get towards when we were talking about him being like a top 15 fighter, and he didn't reach that. And maybe
what about the UFC and the fact that he's a tough winner? The UFC normally keep those guys around for a lot longer.
It's another one. I don't know, but
let's speculate. Let's speculate.
Go on.
Him and Mike Wilkinson both cut this week.
Yeah.
Do we know Norman Parke would have been on a tough contract, which is a 10-fight contract, isn't it?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Someone told. I think it's a 10-fight contract. Maybe that's absolutely ludicrous, but...
No, I don't think so.
If maybe Norman Parke was coming towards a renegotiation period with the UFC, and it was just like, nah, to be honest, Norman, we're not going to keep you on after this, or he was looking for too much money, or it could have been something like that, it could have been anything. I don't think Norman Parke's the guy to stick over money. I think he'd rather stay in the UFC and fight for free than get paid badly, or look for more.
I think the biggest thing here is, if Norman Parke was a middleweight, I don't think he'd be getting cut right now. Or if he was a light heavyweight, I don't think he'd be getting cut. It's because lightweight. If you're a lightweight or a welterweight and you drop a couple of fights, you're in trouble, because those divisions are so many people. That's why I always said there should be a light welterweight division. Like, Norman Parke would fight in light welterweight. Like, that's why, because there's so many people in those divisions, they're hard to keep going. Like, and when you have a guy maybe that's career is, I'm not stalled a little bit, but he hasn't shown big improvements. And his last, say, 3 of his last 4, as Norman has on paper, it's going to be risky. Personally, like, if Norman comes on to the local scene, I think he beats, he's going to beat most guys that are around here. I wouldn't be surprised in a year's time seeing him back. I think
there's only one guy in Ireland that gives Norman Parke a hard fight, and it's Paul Redmond. And I think both of them are probably on different paths that they're going to get picked up again by bigger organisations, so that there's no need for them to fight domestically in Ireland. Norman Parke would wipe the floor with every pro lightweight in the country.
I think Norman Parke would be a good pick up for Bellator as well.
Well, this is what I was thinking. I put up something like that last week on Twitter. The one thing I would say about Norman is that he definitely needs someone, don't want to say to control his social media, but maybe to advise them on what he shouldn't. Similar to what you and Graham do with me. And he put up on Twitter at Sugar Ray Safo, "Hi Ray, could you PM me?" It's like, that's not how you conduct your business.
Yeah,
I just don't think. And World Series of Fighting, don't go there. Bellator, as you said, Bellator built up their UK stars nicely. They're culminating that in a UK show this year. Also, shout out to Nick Lentz for one of the most stupidest tweets in history. Yeah. Disrespectful. See, the day Nick Lentz gets cut, I'm going back and retweeting that. Because bad form kicking a man when you're especially in a sport where a lot of these guys are making a livelihood off this. For Nick Lentz to make joke about someone losing their income is just absolutely embarrassing.
Yeah, well,
and it's just him. It's typical Nick Lentz just trying to get himself out there by saying something controversial and funny. riding off, I don't know, McGregor's coattails or something like that. So embarrassment, absolute embarrassment. Hopefully he was taken aside by his team and said, look, cop yourself on. Anyway, and Bellator, they're building their UK scene. Why not build their Irish scene? Do you know what I mean? If BAM are able to put as many people into the 3 arena as they can do, we're at an interesting stage in mixed martial arts in the country here, where the casual fans who used to be just UFC fans are now more aware of other promotions in Europe and Ireland. They're more aware of fighters like Rhys McKee, of James Gallagher, of Dylan Took, of all of those type of guys. Why, like, now that we're at a saturation point of interest from the public point of view, why don't Bellator capitalise on this? Why don't Bellator pick up Norman Parke? Why don't they just go out, pick up James Gallagher, Dylan Took, Decky Dalton, Rhys McKee? Do you know, those guys? Put on a card in Dublin, put it on in Belfast, put it on in the 3 arena again. You'd sell out the full arena, 100%.
Yeah, definitely. Right, speaking of Irish MMA, battles on the weekend. You were there.
Battles on.
Some of the fights, some good interviews coming out of that.
Thank you.
Big win for Kiefer Crosby.
Not from us, anyway.
In the none from you. Yeah, big win for Kiefer Crosby with a kick to the body.
A teep. If I'm guessing, right, and I'm not Keith McCabe's body, I think his bottom rib, his maybe even this. There's a floating rib as well, isn't there?
I have no idea.
Either way, it was a teep to the rib, and it just buckled him. Lovely accuracy from Kiefer. This is definitely the win that he's needed. Do you know what I mean? I
didn't see the first fight, actually. How did that go between they fought an amateur, didn't they? Yeah.
They fought an amateur before, and Kiefer probably landed the most strikes I've seen in an amateur fight in one round. Like, unanswered in terms of, like, the other guy throwing nothing back. Kiefer emptied him in the first round and got tapped in the second. Which, like, that was a poor loss to drop, but he's learned from it. And all of the, like, fair enough, the SPG loss of always learning. They either win or they learn. Kiefer is someone who's put that in action and put it as a proper example.
That fight as well with A.O. Daly, remember it at
Cage Warriors.
That was a great fight as well. He did the same as that. He kind of landed a lot of strikes in the first and got tapped in the second again.
Now we're seeing a different Kiefer Crosby, more focused maybe, more dedicated. I think you're going to see it, especially from the guys, I don't want to say that are in Conor's inner circle, but I can't imagine that Conor's like bringing too many amateurs from the SBG team all around the world. Do you know what I mean? Kiefer's been someone that's trained with Conor for a couple of years. He's seeing Conor's success firsthand. He's behind the scenes. He's getting to see how Conor's living. I think that's a massive motivation boost for any fighter in that position. Do you know that they're seeing what their teammate is achieving directly in front of them, and it's all happening. All of the work that they've done is happening inside the same walls, under the same guidance of a person that has gotten them this far as well. So why can't they go the same way and emulate Conor in that way?
He seems to have a very good attitude too. Like, listen to your interview with him afterwards. He seems to, have his head on his shoulders and be working hard. That's what you kind of need as well. So what about the rest of the card? Anyone else stand out to you? What about the spice bag?
The spice bag from Redzer. Bit of I've been caught in the spice bag before.
Have you?
It's a common enough move in Team Tara's.
Explain that to me now. Explain it, because it was hard to see.
If
in the video.
It is what I think it is, it's a reverse Kimura. It's just I get done in it from a one-arm Kimura from the back. This brown belt that trains with us, Eddie. I'll send you a video of it during the week, and I'll explain it to you of what it is on the
SevereMMA Facebook page.
Yes. Oh, SevereMMA podcast Facebook page.
Yes,
I will. I'll upload it directly to that, explaining what it is. It was a grappling match, so I'm not going to take anything from it. I know Reds good. I know Keith Cavan is good. Fair play to Keith for jumping up and even taking that fight. I definitely would not have been looking to step in the ring with Redzer.
Come on,
I was the last man to face Redzer. I've grappled with Redzer before, and he toe-holded me into oblivion, and it's not something that I want to really do again in the future.
Yeah. His takedown though was unreal, wasn't it?
Oh, just ruckus, just straight out. Come on, up them stairs, down onto the ground. Galek. There was a couple of good fights at the card. Alex Brophy again, very much impressed. Really looking forward to seeing his progression as a flyweight, amateur flyweight in the country. Talking about maybe getting onto the Ireland team for the IMAF World Championships in Vegas. That will be sweet. Eric Nolan got a win over Lee Hammond. He, from what we were told, that was a qualifier. So I think Eric Nolan is on the Irish team for the IMMAF, the championships in Las Vegas. So there's one place gone. I wouldn't take too much discouragement from that from Lee Hammond, because I definitely think he is going to be one of the biggest stars this country has produced. I think he has the right mindset. His jiu-jitsu is already at a level that I don't want to say far supersedes any amateur in the country, because he couldn't finish Eric Nolan at the weekend. He had him in 2 good submission positions, but it was after getting hit. It's what I imagine would look a lot like if I fought in MMA. You know, a jiu-jitsu guy getting hit maybe and not getting used to it at the start, where Lee looks very good offensively with his strikes and some of the stuff he's able to throw. 1 or 2 shots can maybe I think he needs to get used to being in the wars, being in the trenches, and being used to getting hit, biting down in the gum shield, digging back. But aside from that, a very well run event. Battlezone lads, first ever IAPA sanctioned event. I witnessed it firsthand. All of the fighters were brought up to a room backstage, a doctor room that we were using for interviews before we got gay crashed by all the corner men and stuff like that. They were coming up to the fighters. Oh, stop.
Selfish pricks.
Selfish. Complete selfish. But obviously that was okay. All of the guys were being brought up for medicals there. We're getting to see it firsthand. Then they just hop in with a quick interview for us, and then we'd let them about their business. So again, Battlezone, and they brought the numbers as well. Do you know what I mean? Battlezone brought the numbers there. And if you want to see anything related to Battlezone Fighting Championships, head on over to YouTube. youtube.com/SevereArt. We interviewed every MMA fighter on the card. We recorded every fight. We uploaded it. We had it up. As always, Sean, what's my finger doing? Number 1. First.
Number 1, yeah.
Quickest.
Oh,
now, speed doesn't normally impress females, but if they like mixed martial arts content, then they'll love Severe MMA, because quickest out of the house. You know where I'm going with that, Sean. It was just a little joke, just a wee play joke.
Okay.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't get it there for a while. I was worried. I was thinking this is going down like a lead balloon. Nice. I tell you what, the one thing I will admit, right?
Yeah.
Graham is normally wrong in everything that he says.
Yeah,
okay, and we can both agree on that. But
Coutinho is useless. Go on.
When Graham went and bought that microphone and told me how expensive it was, I was like, you are an absolute so-and-so. But, for example, Kiefer Crosby interview, we were in a very busy room. Siri had his top off. He was getting an ECG for the UFC. Couple of people floating around, making noise, laughing. Everyone laughing when Kiefer Crosby made fun of my shirt. Different things. For all we know, Peter Carroll was sitting in a corner with a pen writing down the questions that I was asking Kiefer, so he could ask him that for his little feature afterwards. Because I'm on to you, Peter Carroll. I know exactly what you to be at.
Dave Fogarty was taking beautiful pictures.
Dave Fogarty was taking pictures of me working away. All was well. There was noise in the venue, but in the interview you couldn't tell that because of the microphone. So an official apology to Graham from Severe MMA. He made the right call with buying that equipment, because you think it was just the 2 of us in the room. So fair play to him.
Very good. Right, 2 quick things before we get to the
2 quick things before I let you
questions.
go.
What did you think of the Polaris? Is that what it's called?
Polaris.
Shit, wasn't it?
What? Did you watch it?
Crap.
Did you order it? No,
Why the fuck would I watch it? It was all draws. There was no finish.
What's the problem with draws, Sean? It's the equivalent of a mixed martial arts fight going 15 minutes, only there's just no judges to score it differently.
But you can't have it's fine for jiu-jitsu people who like that.
No, but like when you match up 2 elite grapplers, fair enough, there may not be a submission, but the format that they're producing allows them to have a more exciting submission wise.
If you don't get a finish, like, it's no good without finishes.
Well,
it's
the exact same as a 3-round fight going to a draw to the judges.
Is it though?
Yes, it's exactly the same, because there's no winner. If Polaris, well, there's no winner outside of a judge. If Polaris got 3 judges for their next fight, would that make you happier? And if every fight went to a time limit decision, then we could pick a winner through scorecards.
I don't mind. Like, I'd watch that. I'd watch jiu-jitsu. But you're the one who's always talking about it being a spectator sport and everything.
In fairness, I have only ever said that jiu-jitsu will appeal to the masses when you've got a certain type of rule set that pits like Gary Tonin against the 10th planet purple belt.
That's the problem. That's basically you admitting that high-level jiu-jitsu is crap.
No, it's not at all. because I think it's entertaining to watch, and the jiu-jitsu community think it's entertaining to watch. When we were talking about this, I was talking about how you could possibly put it on for a television audience. I said that's the only way that you're going to get it. Polaris probably knocked it out of the park with their streams. It seemed to be very well received in terms of the feedback it was getting from the jiu-jitsu community. I know a couple of people were getting annoyed at the camera angles because they had an overhead angle. Seems like maybe they've taken that on board, or it was just the venue that they were in configuration wise. But in terms of like, the matches were exciting, so you're already after admitting that you haven't watched them because they all went to a draw. But why can't something be exciting just because it goes to a draw? Jake Shields slapped the shit out of AJ Azagar.
That was good, in fairness. That was good. If we weren't allowed to fucking talk about stuff we haven't seen, we wouldn't be able to do a podcast anyway.
Yeah, well, that's very true, because I haven't seen most prelims in UFC history, let alone the ones that we pretend to talk about.
That was the best part of it, though, even though I didn't see any of it. But the interview with Jake Shields afterwards, that was fucking brilliant.
Oh no, he did fairly. Like I've said for a long time, I don't like AJ Azagar. I think he's an absolute such and such. He's very smug, and he's so smug for that. And it's like, you admitted that a draw is a victory for you. Why didn't you try finish someone? Do you know what I mean?
He's not a jiu-jitsu player, like.
Oh no, he is a jiu-jitsu player. So
you think he'd have a bit of an advantage over Jake Shields? I know he's good, like, but he's fighting MMA a lot of
infinitely smaller though. He's quite smaller than Shields.
Okay, sorry. Fair enough. I look jiu-jitsu thing about it is it's great for jiu-jitsu people and stuff, and I'm sure it was a good show. I'm only joking, kind of taking a piss out of you, but yeah, it's a pity. I wish they could do it some better way.
I don't think Polaris are one final thing, and I'll let you make your point. I don't think Polaris are overtly worried about trying to break into the mainstream and get people watching jiu-jitsu. They've got a specific, like, the fact that they had so many people in that arena is a testament to the card that they put together. Do you know what I mean? They had a very, very full arena for that. They had people travelling. People from Ireland went over to support Dara O'Connell on the card. There is an interest for live jiu-jitsu from the jiu-jitsu community, and to be watched online by the jiu-jitsu community. Eddie Bravo Invitational on Fight Pass, yeah, that could break down a couple of barriers in terms of getting casual people into watching grappling and submission grappling and fun rule sets. But for taking it what it is, the Polaris product for the jiu-jitsu community was a massive success.
If they're doing it though, right,
there should be fire. I agree. Fire is what they need. In a real world, or a moat.
In a perfect world, every fight should have no time limit. But I know you can't do that because it'll go on all day. Have the main event. If you've torn on against Polaris, have that no time limit. Submission only. There you go. That's how you do it. Like, I'd watch that. If I don't, like, I'd have no problem sitting.
Would you spend 60 minutes?
Yeah.
Fair play to you.
I would. I'd sit down for 5 days and watch a cricket match. Like, I think it'd be better if I knew it was going to end in a submission. I'd watch it. I think it'd be better. Like, when you just think it's going to the draws, like, what's the point?
No, fair enough. I can see where you're coming from, but I see where I'm coming from as well. Like the Dara O'Connell match, for example, right? Dara pull guard, even though his plan was to try takedown, and he said he saw an opening that led him to believe he was going to be able to sweep from there. Satava passed pretty quickly, was able to put pressure on and control on top for a while. Then Dara was able to get to his feet, go for a pass, get him down, went for a leg lock. Time went out. Like, not like he was about to finish or anything, but under a different like, it goes to show that Dara's level himself is a very good level, because John Satava is probably, I don't want to say one of Marcelo's best students, but he's definitely the one that people talk about the most, because they say, like, oh, you're the most like Marcelo. Out of all of Marcelo's students, he's the one that actually fights and competes the most like Marcelo Garcia as well. So I don't know. But you know, there's much cooler. Sorry, Sean. There's much cooler Marcelo Garcia students. Manshir Kara, Pete Carroll's best friend. He's been over here in Ireland doing a couple of seminars. I've trained with him before. Met him at the Euros again. He's a fucking legend. Dylan Danis is probably the most exciting. Like, Dylan Danis will make any jiu-jitsu card exciting. That's the man you need to go look up.
Here's an idea for a jiu-jitsu tournament, right?
Okay.
Or not a tournament, card. Record it, but don't have it live, right? And make a show. Make like an hour and a half long show. And make them all no time limit, right? And then having like an hour and a half long show and show like the best bits from it. Like, take out all the big, where they're just like sitting on half guard and stuff, and just like show the best bits from it. And then like show the last 5 minutes where the finish comes and stuff like that. Make a little show of it. And then if you want to release it on DVD or something, and then give them the whole matches as well, and like the extras or whatever.
Not sure about that, because jiu-jitsu people like jiu-jitsu, so they just don't want to see the exciting
Yeah,
highlights.
but they can see both. But you could have a nice produced show.
I think what you're doing would appeal well for the general masses.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Right, we'll file that under maybe.
Okay, right. Card this weekend. There's a much happening. Francis.
There's a card this weekend.
Yeah, been Derek Lewis against Gabriel Gonzaga. Who are you picking in that one? Lewis? Yeah, me too.
That was the crickets going in the background, Sean.
Mount. Okay, Rotwell against Dos Santos.
Ben Rothwell.
I'm going with Dos Santos. Patrick was doing my preview there. He was reading it out for me, recording it.
I'm just thinking...
And he told me I was an idiot. He said, Ben Rotwell's going to win.
Like, I just think that something happened. Like, part of Junior Dos Santos has died. Do you know, from the beatings that Cain Velasquez has given him over the years.
Definitely, 100%.
So I like, normally, if you asked me this in 2013, you said, yo, Andrew, Ben Rothwell's fighting Junior Dos Santos. I'd be like, Junior Dos Santos is sending him to the hospital. Today, this time around, I think it could be a little bit different.
Why I'm picking Dos Santos, right, is Rothwell's a very slow starter and Dos Santos is a very fast starter. And I think Dos Santos has the power still to knock anybody out in the world. I know Rothwell has an unbelievable chin, but if Dos Santos hits him with one or two big shots, there's no one can stand up to him. And Rothwell does get hit a lot. Like he's not he's a good striker, but he's not a very good defensive striker. He eats a lot of shots. He relies on his chin. So relying on your chin against Junior Dos Santos is not a good way to go. 9-2 Junior Dos Santos is to win first round knockout.
Get the money on it.
Put some money on that. Other Marina Moroz is on that card as well. Nicholas Stalby is back against Zach Cummins. Marvick Tysonov, Ian Intwistle is on it. Robert Whiteford. So this should be good. And my boy, as I said earlier, Francis Ngannou, that big monster of a heavyweight is fighting. So I can't wait for that.
Your boy.
My boy. Question time. Time for questions.
Is it already?
It is.
I better load up the severe.
While Andrew's pulling up the questions, please head on over to rossnutrition.com. Buy some of their beautiful nutritional products for your protein, your pre-workout and all that lovely stuff. Use the promo code SevereMMA to get 25% off your first order. Thank you. Do that. Please follow at Sean Sheehan BA on Twitter. Please follow at SevereMMA. Please follow at SevereMMA Pod. And please follow at Andrew McGahan _.
Beautiful.
Also on Facebook, follow facebook.com/Sean Sheehan MMA. Follow facebook.com/SevereMMA. And follow facebook.com/SevereMMA Pod.
Before
your MMA needs.
Before we get on to the questions, 2 shout-outs.
Go on.
Right? Maybe biased, maybe whatever. Patrick McAllister and Una Quinn from Team Torres. Pat trains up in FAI in Belfast as well. He does jiu-jitsu at Sebastian. He got gold in the No-Gi European Championships this weekend in Rome. Didn't concede a single point. Didn't concede a single advantage. Dominated everybody. Old school MMA fans will know the name Pat McAllister. He was meant to fight Paul Redmond at Battlezone 5 a couple of years ago at amateur. Fought quite a lot of guys. Brilliant grappler. Like, I've seen the work he puts in, so absolute shout out. Pat is the man. And Una Quinn, double gold from Team Torres in the gi at the Rome Open the day before. She got gold in her division and gold in the open weight division as well. I don't think she had a single point conceded on her over the day as well. Nice. So shout out to the homies. Let me think. There was a couple of other... Richard Bukowskin from East Coast got gold as well in the gi on the Friday. Who was it? Hugo Borim, this Brazilian guy who's living in Dublin now. He got gold in the black belt division. Someone from Hill and Gracie, Northern Ireland, got gold in the brown belt division or silver in the brown belt division. I'm not too sure what. And Tom Halpin from Limerick's own Tom Halpin, brown in the adult, gold in the brown belt adult division as well. I think it was featherweight or light featherweight. So shout out. There was probably more. Congratulations. Irish Jiu-Jitsu on the rise as always. Now, questions, is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go on.
Start from the top before we get to the bottom. Oh, well, no, because Mr. Podge... If Mr. Podge doesn't have the first question...
He does, yeah.
Does he? Shocker.
Great man. The friend of the podcast, the best friend of the podcast.
I think at this stage now, the GOAT of the podcast.
GOAT, yeah.
So, I'll throw a couple of his out at you, Sean. Silva saying he would fight Conor at 170.
I'd watch it. I
would watch the shit out of it too. But his question is, would making 170 now at this stage in his career prove he was on steroids for the whole time?
No.
Dun, dun, dun.
I'm not sure he could make 170 on another point. Maybe he could. I think he's a lean enough kind of guy.
In terms of questions that maybe make you think twice about the meeting, Mr. Podge has another one as well. How long can John Jones keep his nose clean this time around? Pardon the pun.
Jesus, hopefully he got a driver anyway, so that'll help him. So I think once he keeps that driver, I think he should be okay.
Finally, 2 quick things here from Mr. Podge. I know you had about 12 questions, but we need to be fair to the other people.
Yeah.
If Frankie wins the interim belt, should he immediately try make 135 and attempt to be the first to be a champ in 3 divisions?
No. Jesus, imagine that.
And
you have 2 145 champions. One of them's fighting at 170, one of them's fighting at 135.
And any odds on the winner of Aldo versus Edgar trying to get the Dos Anjos fight in an attempt to beat Conor to be the first to hold 2 belts simultaneously?
That'd be funny, wouldn't it?
That's what they should do. The boys need to do that. If you're on about legacy, that's your way to do it.
And he could set that up.
And then finally, he had another good one. It's kind of a counter thing to what's going on at the minute. Are the Invicta featherweights complaining that Cyborg is now holding up the division? Or are they happy just not to get beat up for a while?
I like that. It's great to see Cyborg not fighting. We talked about her last week, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Right, the Irish Kieran. Kieran would like to know, is this the last time we're going to see McGregor fight in Vegas since Madison Square Garden is available? No, definitely not.
Vegas is the fight capital of the world. It's not just going to disappear.
And Madison Square Garden is going to be a flash in the pan. You're going to see the first 2 events being massive and then probably go lower and lower, because isn't there a pretty big tax stuff in place that they pass in the assembly? Also, the venue isn't great atmospherically, I've been told. I
think there could be a lot of good big fights in the Barclays Arena, whatever it's called, where the Brooklyn Nets play. That's huge. So you could see big cards been on there.
Padraig Martin, although we kind of covered it, not as much in depth. Thoughts on Jake Shields and AJ Azagarm's aftermath at Polaris?
Brilliant. Very good.
There you go. Who's Pinky and who's the brain from John Lewis?
We let you decide that.
You can decide that one, yeah. Tyg O'Donovan, Tiggy85, wants to know, where's Dana White getting all these interim belts from? Kinder eggs or collecting 12 tokens from the back of a cornflake boxes for them?
Fairy tales, man. Fairy tales.
Oh, brilliant. And he also wants to know, are events like Battlezone 15 better attended and getting more attention than compared to 3 or 4 years ago? Well, I can guarantee you one thing. We were still at them 3 or 4 years ago, Tig, so nothing's really changed in terms of good media content coming out for them. But in terms of the crowd, yeah, Battlezone had big numbers before. They always drew a big crowd in Dublin. It's the other shows that are seeming to fall by the wayside in terms of getting people into them. Like Ryushin Fighting Championships in Lucan is one in particular that has, I think they had maybe 70 people, someone told me, at their last show, which isn't good at all. Battlezone at their last event absolutely packed the place out at the weekend, and that was good. The problem is, though, it's in a GAA hall. They know, like, they couldn't get I don't know if they couldn't get the Regency or they chose not to get the Regency.
I think it does not to.
But fair enough. But you see, there's no generator in this community sports hall, so you can't really get the light and stuff. And the one thing that I would say is, like, it can be detrimental for a pro fighter. You know, your early stages of your career, you're trying to get a wee highlight reel together, and oh, there we go. He's fighting in an arena in BAM at one stage. Next highlight, you're fighting in a GAA hall. That's the only thing. That's my only issue with it. I love it. I love the grassroots feel. I love guys walking out in a GAA hall. I love them fighting there as well, because the atmosphere that it goes to. But for some guys maybe that are thinking highlight reel material or future career opportunities, maybe it could take them a couple of fights longer to get picked up and noticed if all of the tape that's on them at the internet is fighting in events like that.
Maybe.
Anyway, between now and UFC 200 from Will Martin MMA, what are the 3 matches you're looking forward to watching the most?
Let me go on to UFC.com. Okay, I suppose the first one, before we even
John Jones.
About it. No, not John Jones, OSP. I'm not looking forward to that. Tony Ferguson against Nurmagomedov. Let me see. You know, it'd be a good fight. Rose Namajunas against Tisha Torres. Looking forward to that. My computer's after freezing. Pettis against Barboza.
Or just go to Jackson's and ask, can you watch Pettis spar Cerrone?
Exactly, yeah.
That would do as well.
Let me see what other ones there are.
No, you've named 3.
It's just some good fights. There you go. They're my 3. So.
Corey Toot.
No, hold on. Let me take it back. I take it back.
He's taking it back. Look, in case you're not clear, he's taking this back.
I'm taking away Nami Yunus and I'm putting in Tomas Almeida against Cody Garbrandt.
That's what I'm looking forward to. I'm not going to lie on that. Corey J. Tootle. OSP has the longest reach, 80 inches, of any of Jones's previous opponents, including Alexander Gustafsson. Do you think this will play anything into the fight?
No.
Okay. iFreaks_ Paul, whatever your last name is, Paul. For Andrew, what do you think of the fights at Battlezone 15? Any standout performances? I said it earlier on there. Alex Brophy was very good. Eric Nolan was very good. Will Fleury with a very good pro debut as well. And Richie Smullen, a guy who maybe I haven't seen fight as much because he kind of alluded to the fact that it was his own maybe mucking around. I don't think anyone in Ireland will be too quick to go to the ground with Richie Smullen. He has absolutely devastating leg locks, brilliant foot locks, finished with a knee bar at the weekend. Just as soon as it hit the ground, even despite being rocked, as soon as it hit the ground, he was cool as ice. Inverted up onto his shoulder, got underneath, held onto the leg, finished the knee bar. Very good performance from him. I'll take this notice. There's an Irish MMA show this weekend in the National Boxing Arena in Dublin. It's called TEF. If you look them up on Facebook, SevereMMA will be there. But get out, support local Irish MMA. There's a couple of good pro fights on this card as well, so definitely one to watch out for. Sean, will Johnny Jitsu re-retire after Saturday night, or was it just K's rust? Will he dust himself down and move on to another one?
I saw him post on Facebook saying he'll be moving on to another one. I think so. I think he took this loss pretty well, to be honest. It was Will Fleury did very well. I watched the fight. It's up on the SevereMMA Facebook page, Severe Art. And he got caught in a submission. Fair enough. I think he's been around the block now long enough to know what's what, and he'll probably be back again. Nice. He's. You need guys like him as well, and a scene like this.
I think, to be honest, if I'm saying one thing about John Redmond, I think that his actual ability does not translate into his fights in the cage. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. But at the weekend, having grappled John Redmond before and seen him grapple in fights before, it makes no sense to me why he didn't try to defend the head and arm choke. Why he tried a complete alien escape. He didn't put his hand up to defend. He didn't try and move out of it in any way, shape or form. He just pushed away from it and let the choke go on slightly longer. So for me, that, obviously, don't fight, no experience, can't be really saying you should have done this, you should have done that. But I've seen him do much more advanced jiu-jitsu in mixed martial arts fights. Yeah, so maybe it was just Dryer's
fights and stuff, and he's come through other things like that.
Maybe it's just the occasion. The occasion.
Yeah. What about Neil Seary's video blog, though?
The best thing that I've ever seen in my life. If you've never seen it, go on to Neil Seary's Facebook page. His vlog is an absolute brilliant.
His nutrition for that fight is fucking Sean Sheehan type nutrition. Top
level. Neil Ryan 68 though. How big of a star do you expect Joanna Jędrzejczyk to become, and will Tough help her?
Nobody watched Tough, so no. But I think she's.
I think. He said, I think with the right push she could be huge. Hardcore fans obviously love her, but how mainstream could she become outside of Europe and with diehard MMA fans?
That's the thing, you see.
Did you see the video of her training elbows this morning?
Yeah. No, not this morning. I saw her the other day.
It was unbelievable. Was it the other day, was it? Yeah. Had someone up against the wall and was just training elbows with her. I was like, poor Claudia Gadella. Yeah. That is going to be an absolute... if she lands any of those elbows, the fight's over.
I think Jędrzejczyk is always going to be a hardcore kind of fans' favourite. I don't think, I think for a WMMA fighter to translate, American is a big thing, and I think they like kind of the American good girl or the American bad girl or whatever you want, in America to translate to be a big star. It's different. Obviously,
Joanna got a great reception in December or in March.
The fans love her, but mainstream, it's going to be tough. It's different if you're Conor McGregor. There's a lot of Irish people there. Like Manny Pacquiao. There's a lot of Filipinos in America and stuff. I know there's a lot of Polish people as well, but it's
KSW, pretty big promotion. They got a good number in London.
Well, she could be a big star in Europe and stuff. But to get into the mainstream, you need America. Like, and I'm not sure if she can do it in America. Like, she has the talent, she has the personality, she has everything. But
do you know what you do?
Sure. Maybe
capitalise on her. If you want to make Joanna a star, you sacrifice the one that you're making at the minute on Dancing with the Stars, Paige Van Zandt versus Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Yeah. The world tunes in to see this dancer, and then you're greeted with Joanna.
Do you see Paige's?
She's some dancer.
She's very good. I enjoyed it.
She's going to win it.
Yeah, hopefully. I hope she does.
She's going to win it outright. Next question. Callum Divan, acquaintance of the podcast. We have spoke about the interim belt situation. Rewind the podcast a little bit, or we've already covered it if you're still listening.
Fairy tales.
What? Fairy tales.
Fairy tales,
yeah. Ronan One Duffy, friend of the podcast, wants to know, after Cyborg wins by murder, who do you think she will be, or do you think she will be one of the women's fight at UFC 200, and against who?
I say Katzengana, but I think Katzengana has another fight now, so maybe not her. I do think she'll be on UFC 200 though. Against who, I'm not sure.
Undecided so far. Daniel Garrity wants to know, have you seen Batman vs Superman yet? Any thoughts?
No, I haven't.
I haven't seen it either, and I heard it's absolutely crap, so I won't be going.
Yeah, I watched Deadpool again last night. Just watch that and said best film ever.
Just watch that again, yeah. Good thing. He also said, how did we forget Sean? Mm-hmm. Also, Shane O'Mac from the top of the cell.
Yes. My God. People are complaining about that. Oh, these two old guys. I thought it was an unbelievable match. I thought it was brilliant.
Probably the best Undertaker matches that I've seen in a long time.
In years, yeah.
Yeah, no, like he had one last match in him, like, and if that was it, maybe fair play to him, but up until then, like, that was an absolutely brilliant match.
That's exactly why Shane O'Mac is my favourite wrestler as well. What a legend. Do you remember
what sort of 40-something-year-old multi-millionaire puts his life at risk by going off the top of the cell like that? Yeah. Zero. None of them.
What other golf executives will be doing that now? None. It was just brilliant, and he did a coast to coast as well, and he got about 3/4 of the way across the octagon.
I thought his coast to coast this time was better than his coast to coast the last time.
On first look, actually, I didn't think it was good, but on second look, you're right. Actually, he looked good. He only caught it with kind of one leg, though. So
yeah, it was like 1 foot into the bin. He didn't commit to it. I think. No, I think it's easier to land if you only go 1 foot. Yeah. That's what I would take from it. But we might as well section. Wait, will we go through the rest of the questions then talk about Mania?
Yeah, it's just while I'm remembering it here, shout out to Dan Rich as well. He himself and his friend were sending me
Snapchats during it. Yeah, he's a great man on Snapchat. I get some of them. Ripping the piss out of my accent. Danny Berry wants to know, is OSP the most random fighter in a title fight ever?
Joe Soto.
Oh yeah, no, Joe Soto takes that. And then finally, Robert Mannion, what chance do you give OSP and Cejudo at UFC 197? Is it a good underdog double?
I think Cejudo. I think OSP is a better chance than Cejudo. I was thinking about this Cejudo fight.
Cejudo has no chance, does he?
He's too slow. He's not technically as good. He doesn't use his wrestling particularly well in MMA. How is he going to win the fight? I don't think he's going to sit and lie on Demetrius Johnson for 5 rounds.
We'll see. We will see. Vinny C wants to know, who are your most famous Twitter followers apart from him, of course?
Mine or yours?
Well,
both of ours.
Maybe both.
You tell us first.
Well, Connor probably, I'd say.
Mine would probably Dana
also
White.
Be Connor. Oh, does Dana follow you?
Yeah, Ronda Rousey.
How does Rousey follow you? That just must have been an accident, was it?
No, we're close personal friends, myself and Ronda.
Big fans McGregor, of each other's work.
Ariel Helwani. Hector Lombard.
I don't know. I haven't looked. I don't pay that much attention. The only time I know when someone good has followed me is because you get a notification on Twitter saying someone good has followed you, because their profile will come up. Darren Das wants to know, when will we see Paddy Houlihan fight again, and who would you give him?
It's wondering.
SBG Tala posted today like a graphic design, an image of the new gym layout, so I'd expect that to be up and running before we hear any sort of Paddy fight announcement.
I did an article there a few weeks ago about who the next Irish people should fight next. I can't even remember. Who did I put for Paddy Houlihan? You surely read it, Andrew.
I did not.
John De Los Reyes. That's who I put, I think.
Not a bad fight. Yeah. Colin Ward, Loud59, wants to know, if Jones DC2 were to be added to UFC 200, would it become the main event above Nate and Conor?
That's a good question. That's a very good question.
I think so.
I think
so, and I think that Conor may not be happy, but I think the UFC would have every right to do it. But we'll see what happens.
I don't think it's going to happen though, because that's a lot of pay-per-view money to be paying out.
Yeah,
when
you're looking at the guys that are on it, that are entitled to pay-per-view points, they'll probably have it in their contract. UFC probably won't want that. Eamon McLean, friend of the podcast, he says, do you think Khabib should have taken a tune-up fight instead of jumping in the deep end with someone like Tony Ferguson? 2 years out is a long time.
Yeah, it's not really something the UFC do though, is it? They don't really give tune-up fights, although Dominic Cruz got one, but yeah, maybe. Probably would have been wise, but
Sean thinks Khabib will prevail nonetheless.
I think he's the GOAT.
GOAT. 1 sec. You're whistling now. Why are you whistling, Sean?
Sorry.
I just have to scroll up here to get the next set of questions. Number 1. What are your thoughts on USADA settling with Yoel and giving him 9 months?
6 months.
6 months. Well, then, I'm not saying this guy's name because of what he did to me last week, but you know what user that I'm talking about.
No, I don't. Who is it?
No.
Killer Idol 666.
No. Your man with the @Pat_MC.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That man.
Pat McGrine.
Yeah.
Well, Pat. Great man. Yeah. Look, it was a tainted supplement kind of job. If Romero used the SevereMMA promo code at Ross Nutrition, he'd have no problems like this. Let's be honest, it's a tainted supplement he got. Look, I'm just glad it's kind of over with now. It was tending to drag on, but this is going to give fuel for every fighter that fails a drug test to go, I did tainted supplement too. And it's going to be hard to prove it, but they can look back and say, why did Yoel Romero get off and why am I not getting off? So you could see a spate of this now.
Finally, from him, will Bellator sign Shane O'Mac?
They should.
They definitely should.
They should. He'd beat Kimbo.
We've a couple more. Keith Kavanagh, what do you think of Death Before Decision? There were t-shirts on the Polaris refs and every fight was a draw.
That's funny. Yeah.
Sean Denny wants to know, with somewhat recent harsh cuts of Parke and Wilkinson, is the UFC now more unforgiving on the European fighters?
They have been, European, I don't know, but they have been for a while with everyone. Yeah, especially if you're, welterweight down. And
because of his name, how he felt or snatch, I might as well give him a shout out for question 3. Is Daniel Cormier the UFC's Roman Reigns? No matter how hard he tries, he just can't get over with the fans.
Yeah, that's exactly what he is. And he does try so hard, but that's never going to happen.
Couple of ones now, Sean, before I let you go, and I will let you go. Do you think Thomas Almeida can become the bantamweight champion from Kill Your Idol 666?
He can, but will he?
Maybe not.
I don't think so.
Maybe after Dominic Cruz takes a full-time analyst position. Something along those lines.
I think DJ beat him.
Not
even sure if he'll win his next fight.
Kool-Aid Jimbo would like to know, is Jones DC's trash talk more entertaining than Conor and Nate's?
It's different, isn't it? It's more real, I think, than McGregor and Nate's. I like it, but as I said earlier on in the show, I always have that niggling feeling in the back of my mind that they're on a different kind of level, that Jones is always going to be better than them. And people say, oh, sure, you surely have that for McGregor and Diaz too. No, not really. I think they're on the same level, and I even said that before the first fight. I think if I think Diaz can beat him and McGregor can beat him, but I don't think DC can ever beat John Jones.
Harsh words.
Chris, you coward.
Chris Brennan _13. Any thoughts on Conor's prep for Diaz on the ground suffering due to Gunny training in Iceland? I see Americans have a misconception that Conor and Gunny train together all the time because they always say his SBGI teammate, or he trains with Gunnar Nelson, so he should be good on the ground. But realistically, Conor and Gunnar don't actually train together that much. I think unless Gunny's over getting ready for fights, or if Conor is over in Iceland as well. I would suspect Conor is going to go over to Iceland before this fight for a little bit, because Gunny will be getting ready for his fight at UFC Rotterdam. So I don't think it wouldn't be the worst idea in the world for Conor to go out there and chill out. I don't think Gunny was over with Conor a couple of weeks before, especially when they thought it was the Dos Anjos fight. He was there training, helping him get ready. he was there as part of it. I think he was even living with Conor. So,
Carl Bindred was actually out in Iceland training as well.
when? Now?
Yeah, well, he was like last week anyway.
I thought Carl Pendred was out filming Baywatch.
Oh no, he was in Iceland there maybe 3 or 4 days ago.
So
He was doing Baywatch as well. Yeah,
back in Iceland. He's over with
wonders
Honey Badger and Gunnar Nelson.
Come back on the cards
for Cahill.
yeah.
No, I doubt it. I think Cahill is the type of guy that he's just doing it to help everybody.
Yeah,
I would believe so. Anyway, he's doing that to help the lads, to help Philip Mulpeter. He's close friends with Philip Mulpeter. He could be fighting again. Very good friends with Gunny as well.
Yeah, he doesn't strike me as the type of guy that would do that as well. Also, who was this? I can't remember his name now. He fought Philip Mulpeter in the best Irish MMA fight ever.
John Maguire. No.
Donnelly.
John Donnelly.
Myself and Graham were talking about this the other day. Battlezone should make that fight again. Or film it this time.
Philip Mulpeter versus John Donnelly.
Yeah.
That's a shout. Stephen Lowry, we know you're listening.
Yeah.
Get on it. Finally, did we talk about female fights at UFC 200? JJ Mills. She said, what female fights would you like to see at UFC 200?
I'd like to see...
what about Beth coming back?
Beth is fighting...
I know at UFC 198 it ties into Eamon McLean's final question of is 198 the best card ever outside of the US? The answer is yes to that, okay? So we'll just... There you go. In terms of female fights at UFC 200, you mentioned Nama Hunis. I definitely think I want to see her on that card in some shape or form. I'm just not too sure where.
Paige already.
Yeah, beat Paige already.
I'd like to see Cyborg against someone. Maybe Cyborg against Holm if they can make that happen.
Brian Caraway versus Cyborg.
Brian Caraway is fighting Aljo.
Aljamain Sterling.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Well, then, okay. So he's booked. I don't know. I have a feeling.
Form. You're a jealous fucker. You only want me to date yourself. That's it.
That's not it at all.
That's a fact.
No, it's not. It's a perfect storyline. It's exactly how Cyborg would get the Tate fight.
By beating Caraway.
Yeah.
God. Okay.
Anyway,
finished.
That's it. An hour and 40 minutes in the book. Beautiful Tuesday afternoon here. I have to go to Dublin now on the 5 o'clock bus. 4:10. Should make it comfortably. If you want to get in touch though, over the next week, 7 days, 365 days a year, we're always available. Get in touch with us at Andrew McGahan _ on Twitter. He's at Sean Sheehan BA. Follow us at SevereMMA Pod. And just all general things. If you want to send a question, we'll see it, we'll favourite, we'll get onto it next week. A lot of questions this week. And sorry, there were a couple of questions that we skipped over because we're running very late here. An hour and 40 minutes, I have to go. There was a few questions that needed a more in-depth response. But do not discourage. Do not fret. Send in another question. We'll get onto it next week as well. Sean, WrestleMania. Before we go.
Yeah.
First of all, Rusev probably has the worst selling of a Stone Cold Stunner ever.
I was actually impressed with it.
I laughed. Yeah, he got some air for a big man.
He did, in fairness. No, he looked like Dolph Ziggler running through that air.
Yeah. But I think we can agree that Stone Cold should have never been a pro wrestler. The man hasn't dropped a beer can in 10 years. He should have been a fucking wide receiver for an NFL team.
He's wasted some amount of beer, hasn't he? I was going to say
he wasted some amount at the weekend. Yeah. I counted 10 cans thrown into him.
Right, man.
10 cans, and it was all his beer as well. Did you notice that?
Yeah,
it was the Broken Skull IPA.
Product placement, yeah.
Oh, great. He tried to put it up to the camera, and the camera switched angles straight away.
Yeah.
Someone had him anyway. WrestleMania, what'd you think of it? Why are these men talking about men wrestling in tights? Oh.
Fuck you.
It was brilliant. It was brilliant.
It was very good. I gave it a
brilliant.
8 out of 10. Look, the Shane Mac Undertaker match we spoke about, that was brilliant.
Phenomenal.
It was stupid having what's his name, Chris Jericho go over AJ Styles. That was
a bit ridiculous. Weird.
And
who won the number one contendership last night on Raw?
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
AJ did.
Yeah, AJ did. Yeah,
perfect.
And The Rock.
That's a nice storyline. That's going to set up for Roman Reigns to turn heel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was like, you can't have two babyfaces going injured. But The Rock going over Bray Wyatt was the most stupid thing ever. I was like, why are they facilitating The Rock? I'm sick of him.
I'm not even going to facilitate that question, Sean, because The Rock is the greatest human being to ever live.
But I'm sick of him. Fuck him. Yeah, he has enough. I'm sick of The Rock.
What do you think about Bray Wyatt?
I like
It
Bray
doesn't matter what you think about Bray Wyatt.
Wyatt. That was good. That was good. That was good. No, I have to give you that there. I don't give it to you often, but I have to give you that one.
Woo. The women's match was brilliant as well.
It was,
Becky,
yeah.
we were robbed of Ireland getting another world champion.
Robbed.
Absolutely robbed.
Fuck's sake.
That should be a question. Biggest female mixed martial arts star, Becky or Aisling Daly? If Becky had done it at WrestleMania, it would have put her ahead.
Becky didn't do it yet.
She didn't do it yet. Aisling Daly's still top.
Yeah.
Any other standouts on the WrestleMania card? Any
Zack
thoughts?
Ryder won.
Any thought? Yeah, that was a bit of a weird one now.
He lost it again last night.
Oh, he lost the title last night.
The Miz, yeah.
Who did he lose it to? The Miz.
Yeah, Shaq was there as well.
Shaq competing was hilarious.
Yeah.
And also, what about the guy who won the Battle Royale?
Baron Corbin, yeah.
Who didn't even get a walkout? Like, that must have been a screw-up. Tatanka didn't get a walk-up either. I think they may have jumped the gun. Tatanka, former WWE legend. So I don't know what was going on there, but...
Went about 45 minutes or an hour over the allotted time.
They were... Oh, well, like, that just went on so long. It was very, very long in terms of... I think... I don't want to completely blame it on them, but Shane O'Mac and The Undertaker probably didn't help things. Like, he can't work a match as quick as he used to be able to. There's definitely that, like...
Yeah, the women's match went on very long as well.
I thought it was brilliant, though.
It was very good, though.
It was really good. And the level of these guys, like the... who did... Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens had a couple of nice spots in the...
I like Sami Zayn. I like Kevin Owens.
Whatever. Like, I love it because the two of them, teammates, former teammates in Ring of Honor, great feud, great singles feud, two independent guys. CM Punk was right in my interview with him, Sean. These guys are now becoming the stars of the company, the guys that he said should have been, and they were like, no, you have to look like Batista to be a WWE champion.
Where is Batista, actually? Do you remember he came back?
Exactly. Changing of the guard, Sean. Changing of the guards. So otherwise, WrestleMania, great event. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I definitely have to get to a WrestleMania. That's on my bucket list.
Be good, alright.
Sandu invited me to go with him next year if I'd like.
Did he?
Yeah, because I was texting him
no
during the
invite.
week. I was like, I am so jealous of him right now being there.
Yeah. see Botter as well going around.
Botter at it as well. I have a great screenshot of him. I got it off his Snapchat when he had that filter on him with all the makeup on.
Taking selfies with fucking Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, what an absolute dick.
Everton losing. He wouldn't even reply to any of my tweets about Everton losing.
He was too busy at WrestleMania. Him and Stone Cold were laughing at you. That's what was happening, Sean.
There's a great song about it, Anthony Martial that they bought.
Oh, did you see my Snapchat yesterday? Martial artist, my joke.
Oh yes, I did.
Did you like it?
I did indeed like it.
Go.
What's the song again? Tony Marshall, he came from France. The English press said he had no chance. 50 million down the drain. Tony Marshall scores again.
See you next week.